Part 63. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 642. Plans always fail to keep up with changes. Lu Chang'an expected that Hans Hizi might come to Nuan to play, but he did not expect that Hans Hizi would come today. But it's not a big hindrance. Can't the three of them have the same fun? Lu Chang'an has always been a hospitable and generous person. Nuan was quickly found by Hans Hizi at the exit of the station. She was so tall that she stood out from the crowd. The key was that she was good-looking. Sometimes, she would always turn heads. So Hans Hizi followed others and looked around, but found that the person who was paying attention to her was herself. The good sister screamed with joy and ran over to hug Nuan. I don't know what's going on with these women. They scream when they haven't seen them for a long time, they scream when they meet by chance, and they scream a few times when they meet up. Lu Chang'an waited until they had finished shouting, hugging, and dancing before dragging the suitcase over. Hello, I'm here to drag luggage, Lu Chang'an said to Hans Hizi. Luggage hauler, long time no see. Hans Hizi greeted Lu Chang'an, raised her head and glanced at his hair, and said with some surprise, why have you grown taller again? She has also grown taller. In order to match her height, I have to grow a little taller, Lu Chang'an explained. But, the second development must also be about showing affection. But we have agreed beforehand that you are not allowed to show affection in front of single dogs. Please protect small animals, Hans Hizi said a little unbearably. She was in Anuans. I have seen in the space that my sisters are completely crazy about showing off their boyfriends. I have promised before that I will never put stinky men before my sisters, but now I am afraid, and Nuan probably still says so. As for the degree of credibility, we all know. Where's Wu Fan? Where's Wu Fan? Where's Wu Fan? And Nuan teased. She really wanted to know how that guy would get along with Hans Hizi after he returned to school. I thought he would follow you to Linen. It's disgusting. Wu Fan hasn't said a word to me since he returned to school. He wears a pair of sunglasses all day long and says he can tell fortunes. Then when others believe him, he takes off his glasses and rolls his eyes to show them, like a lunatic. Hans Hizi glanced at Lu Chang'an and said, look at the psychological shadow you have given others. How can you blame Lu Chang'an? And Nuan asked strangely, the one who bit him was a dog, and the one who hit him was Zhu Huntang. It has nothing to do with Lu Chang'an. I don't know, anyway, he is imitating Lu Chang'an like this. I don't think I can blame Lu Chang'an. But if your Lu Chang'an stimulates people's nerves, isn't that quite normal? Hans Hizi thought of Lu Chang'an. Ma Benwei, who is driving a big windmill. Didn't Ma Benwei have any psychological shadow? That's true. And Nuan is a reasonable person after all. It's you. Lu Chang'an didn't mind taking the blame and casually knocked Nuan on the head. Let's go, take a taxi to the hotel. Lu Chang'an took a taxi. He sat in the passenger seat and the two girls sat in the back. Linen is a tourist city. Not to mention that hotels are expensive. Many hotels often increase their prices or it is difficult to book a room, and Nuan chatted with Hans Hizi. Yes, Lu Chang'an chatted in front to express that this was indeed the case. Didn't you book a room? Hans Hizi said nonchalantly. Linen is such a big place and there are so many hotels, so there won't be no place to stay. The reservation has been made. I contacted the hotel just now and found out that there are only double rooms available. I can only add an extra bed and there is nothing I can do, and Nuan said helplessly. Just add an extra bed. The two of us can sleep in the big bed and it won't be crowded. It won't be crowded if we sleep on your bed or my bed, Hans Hizi said casually. Well, that's all, and Nuan couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when she saw that Hans Hizi had been fooled and didn't realize that Lu Chang'an had only booked a double bedroom on purpose. The road was not very congested, and the more than 10 kilometers passed quickly amidst the chatter of the two girls. Why did you book such a hotel? I feel that during holidays, It's hard to come in and hard to go out. Hans Hizi asked Lu Chang'an for trouble. We are a couple. Isn't it normal for a couple to travel and stay in a hotel? Do they need to come in and out frequently? Lu Chang'an looked at Hans Hizi, who had no self-consciousness as a light bulb, and had to remind her. Oh, go to the hotel, boom, boom, bang, boom. Hans Hizi nodded in realization, and then walked to the hotel. Hans Hizi, I shot you into the West Lake and drowned you, and Nuan was so embarrassed that she chased after Hans Hizi and beat her up. Lu Chang'an understood that if Hans Hizi and Hans Hizi's boyfriend were traveling today, and Nuan would be the one shouting boom, and Hans Hizi's behavior now is in Nuan's true face. The rapid development of the hotel industry makes hotels with a history of more than 5 years feel old. This hotel has been open for more than 7 years and has been maintained fairly well. The Chinese-style courtyard is designed with modern people's living habits in mind. It looks very comfortable. The tone is gentle and does not look too old-fashioned. The key is that this hotel can directly charter a boat to travel to the West Lake, and it is also close to the place where you can watch the impression of the West Lake performance. What's more, this is a hotel that is particularly beautiful after snowing. Based on Lu Chang'an's experience, it will probably snow tonight, especially after he saw the weather forecast, he was even more sure. The good thing about snow is that if he throws Hans Hizi outside the house, it will be covered with snow. Then he puts her up and becomes a snowman, embellishing the mood of Lu Chang'an and Nuan when they hug together to enjoy the snow. This is not excessive, because judging from Lu Chang'an's experience, since Hans Hizi dares to be a light bulb, she must have such a consciousness. Of course, Lu Chang'an would not say these words to Hans Hizi. She had already realized this, so there was no need to say more to avoid appearing petty. There was no need to say more about the tacit understanding. The doorman came to pick up the luggage, and Lu Chang'an followed them to the front desk to check in. When they arrived in the room, Hans Hizi screamed and jumped on the bed. Then Nuan chased after her and tried to cover Hans Hizi's mouth with a pillow, and the two started fighting. Although they are all wearing skirts, in winter the girls wear leggings, pantyhose, warm pants, and stockings that are put together in several pairs. Even though their legs look thin, you have no idea how many layers they have on. There is no need to worry about them freezing. The waiter brought the luggage, added the bed and left. Lu Chang'an walked to the balcony with a bluestone fence and looked at the microwave-thin lake. Different from the modern-style buildings, the beauty of the traditional Chinese courtyard lies in its matching with the scenery of the four seasons. For example, most skyscrapers look the same all year round, even if it snows, but traditional Chinese courtyards will become completely different. Beauty in life requires careful embellishment and careful appreciation. Lu Chang'an took a look and saw that the crooked neck tree next to him was missing a Hans Hizi to hang on it. I recommend a medical article when the doctor prescribes a plug-in. It is well written. The author is a doctor himself and an experienced author. He has high-quality old books and his character is guaranteed. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 643. Nuan and Hans Hizi were playing around for a while, and then they complained that they were hungry. Lu Chang'an felt that Hans Hizi was a little fatter than in the summer, and it would be nice if she could share her extra fat with Nuan. Nuan had grown taller and weighed a little. It has increased, but because of the heavy training in school, the metabolism is very strong, and the body cannot store fat and gain weight. Fat is a good thing. It can keep people warm, and pigs can be fried in oil. Likewise, it can make the human body more beautiful and the pork more delicious. Although there is no reservation, there are not many people at this time. The restaurant has arranged a window seat with a view of the lake. There are also several dining seats outside. Naturally, it is not open in such weather. The name of the restaurant is Jinsha Restaurant. It is the same as Hubin 28, another hotel restaurant on the opposite bank across the entire West Lake. It is a delicious and inexpensive place. If you don't want to pursue eating in a serious way like a frigid person, the so-called custom-made restaurants where you can enjoy the sense of ritual and feel the overwhelming style. Jinsha Hall and Hubin 28 are especially suitable for toothpaste festivals or dinner gatherings with friends. Even on holidays or meals, reservations are always required, so you can't come just when you want to eat. Also a bit annoying. Ordering is very casual, just order what you want when you see it. Girls like to eat desserts and snacks. En Nuan ordered the signature foie gras mixed with scallion pancakes and longjing stewed eggs. Hans Hizi ordered mustard shrimps, snails, spring bamboo shoots and 9-layer pomegranate buns. Lu Chang'an I ordered a piece of butter bibimbap for each person. Because I thought of women, pork, and fat before eating, I ordered abalone and braised pork. After taking a look at En Nuan, I ordered a Westlake vinegar fish and Zhenjiang balsamic vinegar. Pork ribs, and then ordered beef tenderloin fried with black pepper and green onions to barely go with the meal. As soon as he started ordering, Lu Chang'an began to miss the stir-fried salty and spicy flavor of southern Hunan. There was nothing he could do about it. When people in southern Hunan eat, if there is no stir-fried dish of ginger, garlic, and chili on the table, they always feel like there is no food. En Nuan ordered a bottle of sparkling water to go with the meal. Hans Hizi wanted to drink, but he was afraid that Lu Chang'an would throw her into the yard to stay while she was drunk. If it snowed again, wouldn't she become an outdoor snowman to decorate them with? Jing's mood. Let's forget it, the key is to order drinks. Usually it is the host who speaks, and if Lu Chang'an doesn't say anything, she won't mention it either. In fact, Hans Hizi was a little jealous. Her good sister suddenly had a boyfriend, and it didn't look like she was about to break up, it was actually the same with boys. They usually played games together, played basketball together, bathed together, and, being stupid, suddenly one day someone starts to clean up himself, wash his hair every day, his clothes are no longer wrinkled, the acne on his face is gone, the bloodshot eyes are gone, and his spirit is renewed. I went on a date with my girlfriend. What's the mood of the rest of you? Fortunately, Hans Hizi and En Nuan were separated and had a new circle of friends. It would be really uncomfortable if they still played together every day as before, and suddenly Lu Chang'an came in. You eat a scallion pancake. En Nuan thought it tasted good, so she gave one to Lu Chang'an. I want to eat too, Hans Hizi said loudly. En Nuan laughed and gave Hans Hizi one. You don't know how to do it yourself, Lu Chang'an said. I like to join in the fun. I see it. After dinner, the three of us certainly didn't stay in the hotel. We went out for a ride. Bicycles are the most convenient and efficient way to travel around the West Lake and related scenic spots. Lu Chang'an has not been to Linan for a while. At the beginning of the last century, the Su family had many properties in this area. Some of the houses have now been converted into state-owned hotels and have a good reputation. Many tea gardens in the surrounding area were also every tea-picking season in the Su family. Some literati would come to visit, because the tea-picking girls in the Su family are said to be quite beautiful, which is related to the tea brand Envxiang that Su Mei wants to run. At that time, Su Mei already had great insights into how to use gimmick marketing. The Su family's daughter's fragrance tea was highly praised and could not be afforded by ordinary people, but it drove the sales of other affordable teas produced by the Su family. But because his girlfriend was Su Mei, young Master Ye had no chance to go to the tea farm to see the tea-picking girls of the Su family. Nowadays, there is no need to see it, but some hotels are located in the tea gardens, which can be used as a gimmick to attract some people to experience the life surrounded by the fragrance of tea and greenery in the countryside. Young Master Ye also brought Ye Sijin and Qin Peng to play there back then. The one who entertained them was of course Su Mei, who lived in the Su family's house here. Now I am revisiting the old place, speaking of which, if a man travels to the same place but takes a different girlfriend every time, Does he feel like a bit of a scumbag? Of course not. To be precise, at that time it was Yechinayu and Sume who stayed at the Sujiya villa to enjoy themselves and cultivate their character. Now it is Lu Chang'an and An Nuan who live in an ordinary hotel. That's the way to say it. Lu Chang'an, what are you thinking about? Hans Hizi said loudly. She noticed that Lu Chang'an was a little distracted. It seemed that he was quite unhappy with her as a light bulb. Otherwise, how could he be like this when traveling with his girlfriend? I was thinking about some humanistic illusions and other things related to this area, Lu Chang'an said. Then tell me. An Nuan wanted Lu Chang'an to show off in front of Hans Hizi. After all, most of Hans Hizi's understanding of Lu Chang'an was dictated by An Nuan. She wanted Hans Hizi to know that she was going out with a knowledgeable boyfriend. What is the experience of traveling? In this way, Hans Hizi will not find the kind of boyfriend who can only say F***ck, 666, let me search on Baidu, who is Master Hong Ai. As soon as he saw the words tiger running, An Nuan thought of Master Hong Yi. We just passed by a sign with the word Huapeo on it, and I thought of Master Hong Ai, Lu Chang'an said. An Nuan chuckled twice, and Hans Hizi frowned, who is Master Hong Ai? I only know Fahe from Jinshan Temple, oh, Li Shutong. Yes, that song we learned in elementary school, outside the pavilion, beside the ancient road, with green grass and green sky, was written by him, An Nuan said. I also know this person, and he joined the Xylan Seal Society. This name can be regarded as Lenin's signature. Hans Hizi thought about it carefully, and many knowledge points came to mind. One of the founders of the Xylan Seal Society is Ye Weiming. A relative of Ye Weiming introduced Li Shutong to join the Xylan Seal Society. Later, Li Shutong wanted to live in Huapeo Temple, and it was Ye Weiming's relative who helped. Of course, this is not the point is it was this relative of Ye Weiming who once bought a village near here, Lu Chang'an recalled. They had already ridden their bicycles and arrived near Lingyan Temple. Not far in front of Lingyan Temple was Feiyun village. Can I still buy a village? Hans Hizi asked curiously. What couldn't be bought and sold in that era? An Nuan said with a sigh. This village is an ancient village with a history of more than 1,000 years, now the village has changed hands again and has become a hotel. The design concept of the hotel is to use the charm of the ancient village to turn it into a wealthy village in the 18th century. It also has many tea gardens, and the hotel has separate access to Yongfu Temple and Lingyan Temple. The hotel can also help guests arrange morning classes at Buddhist temples, Lu Chang'an introduced like an enthusiastic hotel guest. Wow, it feels pretty good. Hans Hizi said with some yearning. Girls are very fond of this kind of hotel that emphasizes design, storytelling, and elegance. Then I'll help you get a room here. How about you stay here tonight? Lu Chang'an suggested very hospitably. Hans Hizi was stunned. This person finally showed up? An Nuan blushed and stopped talking. You go around and talk so much nonsense just to break up Nuan and me, Hans Hizi suddenly realized, you should give up. I will sleep with Nuan tonight, and I will give Nuan back to you tomorrow. Do I think that way? I don't understand good people. Lu Chang'an rode his bicycle to the front. You called me a dog. Witty. And Nuan followed behind, biting her lips. This fool was only exposed when he got to Linen. If he had told her earlier that he wanted to do evil, she would definitely not be willing, but she probably wouldn't call Hans Hizi either. And Nuan is a strong and brave girl after all. Can't she resist Lu Chang'an's invasion by herself? Of course, this kind of thing requires her own firm will, because he will definitely try again and again in the future. She can't just call Hans Hizi here every time, right? Actually, this hotel really has a story. My father, Lu Jianxi, met a friend named Wang An who died at about the same time as him. This Wang An was a frequent visitor to this hotel. He often brought a beautiful girl with him. Live here. How beautiful? An Nuan asked with concern, and a little worried. She was used to Lu Chang'an thinking that she was the most beautiful, but Lu Chang'an said beautiful girl in front of her, which meant that this kind of beauty it's probably hard for Lu Chang'an to open his eyes and tell lies. Maybe he is a beautiful girl of the same level as En Nuan. What are you worried about? Hans Hizi still knew En Nuan very well, although she is a beautiful girl, and although this Wang An is friends with Lu Chang'an's father, he is probably a middle-aged uncle, but since the girl always stays in hotels with him, that must have been chewed up. But the age gap seems to be quite big. Lu Chang'an's elders shouldn't have such bad moral integrity, right? En Nuan became uncertain and excited. Well, anyway, later on, this beautiful girl got married and had children at the age of 16. Lu Chang'an couldn't help but spread his hands while riding his bicycle. Don't have too much confidence in the moral integrity of middle-aged men. Awesome. En Nuan didn't know what to say. Awesome, Hans Hizi said with admiration. I'm a young man. I don't do this kind of thing. My girlfriend is over 18 years old, Lu Chang'an said dismissively. I recommend a book called The Enemy is Enemy Within So Close, a new book by the master Cheng Feng Yujian. It is a super cool article with more than 1 million words. It's really cool. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 644. When I left here last time, the peach blossoms were blooming like snow. Why did the pink peach blossoms look like snow? Because there was a beautiful girl standing under the snow, her cheeks were pink. When I came here again today, the snow fell like peach blossoms. Why does snow look like pink peach blossoms? Because the girl looked at the snow, her cheeks were pink. Fan Yun's farewell poems of the Southern and Northern dynasties. The three of them rode around the West Lake scenic area until dinner time before returning to the hotel to prepare for dinner. At this meal time, the restaurant was only accepting reservations, but Lu Chang'an had already made a reservation for dinner after lunch. The lunch meal was okay. Except for the foie gras and scallion pancakes that En Nuan loved, I didn't order the same dishes. Naturally, I didn't order the West Lake fish in vinegar and Zhenjiang balsamic vinegar pork ribs. Hans Hizi still didn't order wine, but she ordered a beer ice cream, and there were all kinds of drinks in the water tank in the room. She felt happy when she hugged the great beauty En Nuan and drank some wine and watched a show before going to bed. After dinner, we went to see a performance. It was already 11 o'clock in the evening when we returned to the room. To Lu Chang'an's surprise, there was still no sign of snow. This weather forecast is as unreliable as his spider divination, Lu Chang'an thought with emotion. So Lu Chang'an didn't throw Hans Hizi outdoors to be a snowman at night, which was a pity. The next morning, Lu Chang'an and En Nuan sent Hans Hizi to the station. When they came back, something seemed to have fallen from the gloomy sky. Lu Chang'an touched En Nuan's hair, finally. The snowflakes touched his fingers and melted like a girl's tears when touched by the warm skin. It's finally snowing, En Nuan ran and jumped excitedly, stretched out her hand and waved towards the sky, then patted it. Feeling the snowflakes melting in her palms as she slapped them, En Nuan screamed twice happily, then turned to look at Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an also looked at her. The beautiful girl seemed to be in a better mood than when Hans Hizi was here. The sincere joy was revealed from her brows and eyes, the trembling eyelashes, the bangs swinging in the wind, the fluttering her hair and the liveliness of her whole body expressed her good mood. It seems that from now on, the two people's travel in linen begins. A couple's trip is actually a long date. Although they don't really mind being disturbed, they still have the anticipation for the date, the sweetness they want to enjoy, and the charming sweetness that only blooms in front of him when they are alone. Only then will she show her girlish appearance to him freely. She wouldn't mind occasionally showing off her affection in front of Hans Hizi, but after all, she felt embarrassed when she wanted to act coquettishly and awkwardly, and act like she was waiting for him to coax her. You checked the weather before coming here, right? And Nuan liked the snowy weather very much, especially when traveling, so she chose a city that was very suitable for snow scenery to decorate. Among the cities south of the Yangtze River, Linnan must be among the places most anticipated for snow. I thought it would snow yesterday, but I didn't expect that Hans Hizzy would come, and the snow would be delayed. After she left, the snow would come. Lu Chang'an was also a little surprised. As expected, the weather is the most elusive, even with modern technology. Even if you use the world's top computers to participate in predictions, there will be times when God lets you go. Are you not angry? And Nuan asked a little embarrassedly. After all, it was him who proposed the trip and date, but he was interrupted for a whole day and a night. Am I such a stingy person? Lu Chang'an patted her hair. After staying outdoors for a long time, the temperature of the body surface and clothes dropped, and the snowflakes that fell on it did not melt immediately. You are. I like that you are a little bit stingy when it comes to things related to me, and Nuan said delicately, her body still twisting and turning, looking very coquettish. This is something she wouldn't do in front of her friends. This kind of coquettishness has a sweet feeling that others can't bear to see. It may make them feel numb and make them want to vomit. But he won't. Well, Hans Hizzy is really annoying. She wasted a precious day of my time. I won't have a good look at her for 100 years from now on. Lu Chang'an was particularly willing to cooperate with An Nuan in her performance. It's too exaggerated. It doesn't look like anything at all. An Nuan smiled and slowly approached Lu Chang'an, squeezed into his arms, raised her head and looked at him with shining eyes. Let's go back. Lu Chang'an and An Nuan took a taxi back to the hotel. When they got off the car, they saw some thin snow particles sprinkled on the surrounding leaves, roofs, and grass. We won't be trapped in Linnan by the snow, right? And Nuan asked Lu Chang'an, not knowing whether he was worried or expecting. You are overthinking it. No matter how heavy the snow is in the south, it melts quickly. With a little sunshine and the weather warming up by 1 or 2 degrees, the snow is just enough for you to post a few WeChat moments. It will be gone in a day or two. Lu Chang'an, it has been many years since we have seen snow-covered winter weather in the south. The last few years have been the ice disaster in the south in 2008. That would be great. It would be great if we lived in the northeast. We could raise a few huskies to pull our sleds, and Nuan said wistfully. When we go to play in places with lots of ice and snow, I will pull you and run faster than the dog sled, Lu Chang'an said confidently. I don't want it. Boyfriends are not meant to do this kind of thing. And Nuan imagined the scene of her boyfriend pulling a sled, smiled and leaned into his arms, then turned around and pulled Lu Chang'an towards him. He ran forward and bent down as if pulling him hard to sprint. I am a beautiful sled dog. The beautiful sled dog is not used to pull sleds, Lu Chang'an said, looking at her 2 ponytails. What is it used for? And Nuan asked casually. Walking. Disgusting. And Nuan turned around, cursed, and pushed him away. I won't drag you away, I will run away by myself. As she said that, she quickly ran towards the room. Lu Chang'an looked at her cheerful appearance, vaguely feeling a bit like Zhu Huntang. Fortunately, An Nuan was only like this occasionally, unlike Zhu Huntang in a wealthy family. The daughter-in-law went completely off the road and ran back and forth among the sheep. When Lu Chang'an returned to the room, An Nuan was standing on the balcony of the bedroom watching the snow. Lu Chang'an sat on the sofa and looked at her back. The room had been cleaned, the bed had been made, and the sheets and quilts were neat and white. Just like snow, it is always easy to think of red plums. An Nuan turned around and saw that Lu Chang'an had entered the room and ran in. A gust of wind embraced her, cold and fresh. She closed the door and said with some expectation, when we get up tomorrow, we can see the silver world. Already? It's almost the same. Lu Chang'an looked outside the room. If it keeps raining like this, it will be almost the same by night. If the snow stops overnight, Tomorrow will be the best time for the snow scenery. By the way, didn't you mean linen, linen? And Nuan tilted her head and thought carefully, by the way, it seems that there is someone here who wants you to deal with it. Since arriving in linen yesterday, Lu Chang'an has been playing with him and Hans Hizhi. This morning he sent Hans Hizhi to the station. Until now, he has not said who he wants to deal with or what he wants to do. Yes, the person I want to deal with is in this room, Lu Chang'an said, looking at En Nuan. En Nuan looked around, and then her eyes made contact with Lu Chang'an. En Nuan finally understood that she was the one he wanted to deal with. When he talked to himself at that time, he looked serious and calm as usual, as if what he wanted to do had nothing to do with En Nuan, even though he repeatedly expressed the hope that Hans Hizhi would not disturb him and En Nuan. At that time, En Nuan never thought that the people and things he had to deal with in Lion had anything to do with her. There is heavy snow outside the house, falling to the ground, waiting for the red plum blossoms to soak in. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 645. En Nuan stared blankly at Lu Chang'an, with his slightly raised corners of his mouth and his calm demeanor. If he had another glass of dry marten in his hand, En Nuan would definitely think that he was a pork guy, and that he was the pork waiting to be cut on the chopping board. You, what are you going to do with me? En Nuan raised her hand and put her 2 index fingers together on her chin. But don't misunderstand, could he be teasing yourself? After all, he acted foolishly in front of him, and he felt that she was too innocent and pure, and he shouldn't do whatever he wanted to her, even if she was just a flirt. He had said some very bold words before, but in the end he didn't do anything to En Nuan, which made En Nuan nervous and happy in vain. Maybe it will be the same today. So En Nuan just looked at him with a blushing face, showing a calm expression, and walked up to him with a majestic step, hands on hips. In fact, according to the official dictionary, women are the general term for adult women. In a more serious judicial interpretation, women over the age of 14 are called women and men, and women under the age of 14 are called children regardless of gender. She is already a woman, so we cannot say that we turn a girl into a woman. To put it more directly, I want to have a baby with you. Lu Chang'an turned on his phone and showed her the definition. Look, Beidou, doesn't that sound authoritative? Authority, you ghost. En Nuan blushed and hurried into the bathroom to hide. This guy was still in the mood to chat with her at this time. He must have been planning for a long time and treated her like pork on the chopping board. No, it's not very cute to compare yourself to a pig. That means treating her like a motionless zombie baby, and you want to stick a charm on her forehead, and then let him do whatever he wants. Stop. What are you thinking about? Anyuan, who was thinking wildly, walked to the window, pushed the window and raised her legs. When she was congratulating herself that she was tall, had long legs and still had the skills to climb over walls and windows, she realized that even the inner windows of the hotel were decorated at any time. It looks like it can be opened, but there are still hinges on the outside that limit the opening angle, so it's impossible to climb out from here. Even if you can climb out, why climb out by yourself? En Nuan thought for a while, wouldn't it be a bit embarrassing if she walked out directly again now? Then take a shower first. Only then did I remember why I suddenly ran into the bathroom. Why did he run into the bathroom when he realized Lu Chang'an's intention? Is it safe here? In order to cleanse himself, in order to keep himself in the purest and most beautiful state, is it possible for him to realize his intention without any flaws? He said he wanted to deal with her, so she had to deal with it for him. The key is, he also said he wanted to have a baby with her. If he said this to her after she graduated and was ready to talk about marriage, she would definitely feel very sweet and touched. The fact is that it is impossible for 2 people to have a baby now. He doesn't seem very sincere either. En Nuan's cheeks were red and she touched her belly sheepishly. How could he be so direct? Couldn't he be more tactful? I foolishly followed him to Linen to be dealt with by him. Could it be that he got what he wanted so easily? But it seems natural for boyfriends and girlfriends to do this kind of thing. I have been together with Lu Chang'an for so long and haven't had sex yet. It's very rare among couples nowadays, right? And Nuan has watched many movies. In a situation like his, when it reaches the last step, he will either turn into a zombie baby and let him stick the charm, or he will stick to the last step. Many girls think that they can do anything, but the last step has to wait until when. But that is the plot of a movie or novel. Can you use it as a reference? Are girls like this in real life too? And Nuan was a little uneasy and nervous. She really never thought that when she came here, something like the possible situation she imagined would happen. It's not that Nuan doesn't have methods in this regard, she really just doesn't want anything to happen with Lu Chang'an at all. It's just that Lu Chang'an doesn't always create opportunities to do something to his girlfriend like ordinary boys. He suddenly came up with such a design, which made Nuan feel surprised and even completely unprepared. Other girls are usually harassed a lot by their boyfriends, so they are probably mentally prepared and waiting for when he will get what he wants. And Nuan took a deep breath to calm herself down. In this current situation, it is better to take it one step at a time and let nature take its course. After all, I have followed him to Linen, so what will happen next depends on his arrangements, and I have to adapt to the situation. Do you want to take a bath? Oops, it's so annoying. Why do I have so many questions and doubts when I encounter this kind of thing? I don't feel calm at all. Hey, I feel like taking a shower now is like being prepared. In Nuan's impression, both boys and girls need to take a shower before doing such things, especially girls. You must wash yourself clean and face him in a perfect state. You, take a bath too. It's not just to prepare for something. You have to take a bath before going to bed so that you can sleep more comfortably and not let your skin become dry in a warm room. Dry up. After the age of 18, girls must always pay attention to maintenance and not relax at all. And Nuan has an excellent learning partner, Professor Lu. And Nuan Qi also wanted to have the youthful physical condition and perfect skin like Professor Lu when he was in his 30s. And Nuan took off her coat first, and then looked at herself in the mirror. The beautiful girl in the mirror is obviously at her most youthful and lively age, wearing a common female high school uniform. Although she is already a college student, this kind of uniform has always been a favorite dress for girls, and those who are already working, and even girls who have become mothers like to take pictures in such uniforms. As for whether they can wear it, it depends on each person's maintenance status. I'll go for a walk around the hotel. Lu Chang'an's voice came from a place not far from the door. Good. And Nuan responded quickly. After hearing what he said, and Nuan breathed a sigh of relief. Otherwise, if he had stayed in the room outside the bathroom, he would have given Nuan the feeling that he was waiting for her to go out in vain. It feels like, can Nuan not be nervous? Now that he left, Nuan showed her usual playful smile, stood on the non-slip blanket and jumped up, then hummed her favorite tunes, took a comfortable bath first, and turned into a fragrant and soft beautiful girl. Bar. First of all, I would like to apologize to everyone. As everyone knows about the current situation, although Xiahua has not been able to write anything overnight, she really can't write anything in the text now. The solution is at the end of the previous chapter. I also recommend a book called Escape for Your Life, author. The author's name is also called First Love Shines Like Summer Flowers. His book is all in manuscript form and is being published. It does not affect his efforts to complete his old book. Of course Xiahua is also there. I'm trying my best to finish the old book. I'm a little bit cold today and I haven't updated much. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 646. After Nuan breathed a sigh of relief, she stood in front of the mirror. Now she could take a bath peacefully. Every time she took a bath, Nuan liked to look at herself in the mirror. The beautiful girl in the mirror is the most lovable when her body has matured but her soul still has an innocent and lovely flavor. The charm of a girl is of course not only due to her body, but also her temperament, her self-cultivation, her personality, and the personal charm she combines to form these things. She showed her charm, she hid her body, waiting for one day someone to get everything from her. And Nuan believed that Lu Chang'an was the one who could get everything, and she was willing to give herself to him. After all, he was the first person of the opposite sex that her heart fell in love with when she grew up, and the first person who would be extremely sweet when she thought of him. And Nuan carefully laid out the disposable bath bag she brought, then started to fill the water, connected her mobile phone to the Bluetooth speaker in the bathroom, and played her favorite songs. The snow outside the window crackled, gradually covering the ground, and began to pile up and spread out. The leaves became heavy and falling, and nests of snow were hidden in the corners, like many little white rabbits. And Nuan also looked down at herself. I don't know if he will be satisfied with everything about her. It is said that girls will have a second chance to grow after having a boyfriend. I feel that this is a particularly tempting reason. No, it is not tempting. It should be said that it is a reason that poisons the pure heart of a beautiful girl and makes her fall into the trap. She was poisoned, so if she made any decision at this time, she couldn't be blamed. And Nuan pressed the edge of the bathtub, raised her slender legs and stepped into the water. The light and shadow intertwined in the water, adding an elegant jade color to her skin. Her legs were stretched together and stepped diagonally on the opposite side. For ordinary people, it was a large zero-shaped bathtub, but it seemed to be pretending. Nothing less than the girl's beautiful legs that are worth being proud of. And Nuan bent down, looked at her toes carefully, and touched her toenails a little uneasily. She felt that they were not perfect, especially because the nails on her big toes were not rounded. And Nuan quickly raised her legs. After getting out of the water, I placed it on the edge of the bathtub, then took the polishing tablets in the care package and began to trim my toenails carefully. Why do girls take a long time to take a shower? Just because there are such and such things that can be done. After trimming her toenails, Nuan started washing her hair while changing the water. By the time she stood up from the bathtub and prepared to blow her hair clean, she didn't know how much time had passed. Why is there no movement outside the door? And Nuan was a little surprised that Lu Chang'an was so patient. He neither rushed her nor found any reason to say a few words. Nothing like the pervert waiting outside the door, impatient and ready to eat her at any moment. Perverts are scary, but if her boyfriend behaves like a pervert in front of her, the girl is still quite happy. Wasn't he that eager? And Nuan pouted unhappily. And Nuan arranged her hair and tied it back casually, but she made her bangs fluffy and airy, and left 2 strands of hair hanging on the sides of her cheeks, which made her face look more petite and cute. Although Nuan thinks it's already perfect, it would be nice to be cuter. And Nuan first opened the bathroom door to the width of 2 fingers, and took a closer look. However, the sliding door of the bathroom was quite thick, and he could not see the movement in other parts of the suite. And Nuan then pushed it open a little further, and raised his head. I stretched out and still didn't see Lu Chang'an. This guy literally left her in the room and went out to hang out. And Nuan discovered this in disbelief. A normal boyfriend would be taking off his clothes like an ant on a hot pot at this time. What about him? What about him? Where are the people? He was indeed teasing himself, but thanks to the many inner dramas he had staged, and Nuan walked to the bedroom angrily, only to find Lu Chang'an on the balcony outside the bedroom. He was wearing a single coat and trousers, holding a shovel and a basket in his hand. He gathered the snow from all directions and was building a snowman. Come in quickly, and Nuan hurried over and opened the glass door from the bedroom to the balcony. Why are you building a snowman? Do you still remember that day when we were eating snail noodles and met two ugly men and a woman? Lu Chang'an had finished building the snowman, patted the snowflakes on his body, and walked into the room. Remember? And Nuan looked at Lu Chang'an with some surprise. That day I was thinking, one day when we go out for a trip, it happens to be snowing. We lie together and watch the snow. I feel that you should like it very much. Lu Chang'an looked at his snowman with satisfaction and said, there is a snowman in the snow scene. The whole scene becomes lively, which means that it is not the dead silence of thousands of mountains and thousands of birds flying away, and the 10,000 paths of people disappearing, but the real enjoyment of the snowy day. And Nuan's surprise was to find that she and Lu Chang'an really had a good connection, because it was a very cold day. Just after eating half of the powder, it began to rain lightly. There are always people looking forward to snow in the winter in the south, and Nuan was one of them. She told him at that time, and Lu Chang'an also said that some places in Antarctica had not seen rain or snow in millions of years. At that time, Nuan thought that in the winter of love, two people were playing in the snow, their bodies becoming cold and cold. The two of them were lying in bed, warming her, and watching the flying snow outside the window with her. She didn't tell him this, but she didn't expect that he thought the same way. He chose a place where it would snow and a day when it would snow. He took her here and built a big snowman for her. It's been snowing for so long, and you've found so much snow. It feels like you've scooped up all the snow in the entire hotel's open space, right? And Nuan lay on the glass window and said in a soft voice, also where did your shovel and basket come from? Borrow it from the hotel room department. This is what big-name hotels are like. You spend money to stay, and they are willing to meet the needs of guests to the greatest extent. After all, in addition to guest rooms, service is also their most important commodity. Lu Chang'an held a shovel and a basket. Would you like to go and play too? I don't want to, and Nuan threw herself into Lu Chang'an's arms, her cheeks red. Does it mean, you just want to build a snowman with me? After saying that, and Nuan shyly buried her cheek in his arms, saying this as if she was hinting at something. In fact, she just wanted him to hug her. I want a hug. And Nuan raised her head and looked at him, her voice cooing, hug me, give me a hug. Lu Chang'an threw away the shovel and basket, hugged her waist, lowered his head to smell her ear, and whispered in her ear, I'm going to take a bath first, and then take a nap. Well. And Nuan's cheeks were burning, and her voice was like a mosquito humming. She had breakfast very late, and it doesn't matter if she doesn't eat lunch. She felt a little sleepy in the afternoon, and she just wanted to sleep. And Nuan let go of Lu Chang'an and watched Lu Chang'an walk into the bathroom. Then I'll sleep first, and Nuan said behind him, as for whether he sleeps on the sofa or the floor after taking a shower, or sneaks into her bed, that's all his business. Taking a nap, she knew nothing. Good. Lu Chang'an responded in the bathroom. And Nuan took an apple and took a few bites. Then he wanted to play with his mobile phone as usual, but he was a little absent-minded. He simply got into the bed and hid himself. She was hiding. If he found out, there would be nothing he could do about it, but it couldn't be said that she didn't show any reserved refusal at all. Lu Chang'an quickly finished taking a shower and came to the bedroom. Looking at the beautiful girl hiding like an ostrich, he smiled, lifted the quilt, and took her into his arms. Take a nap. Had a good nap. I recommend my new book Escape for Your Life, author. It is currently being published and saved. Please support me and try your best to finish the book. Changshen will have updates for a long time. Recommend a book My Black Technology Glasses. Li Maoan burned 3 incense sticks in front of his ancestor in despair, and he got the black technology glasses. It is a very interesting imaginative article. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Siahua. Chapter 647. The snow outside the window had been falling all afternoon, and the crooked neck tree was gradually swaying under the pressure, and some snow fell from time to time on the branches and leaves. Delete a paragraph of text. How long are you going to hum? It feels like Zubeiji is taking a nap, and he has been sleeping all afternoon. Lu Chang'an patted An Nuan's lower back. If such a cute Zubeiji and Sun Wukong went to fetch the Western Sutra, they would probably what happened to the white bone spirit, spider spirit, apricot spirit, and scorpion spirit. I want to keep humming. Hum. Hum. Hum, and Nuan hummed hard several times. If I were Zubeiji, you would be Gao Quilin from Jiajiazhuang. I'm not a thing like Gao Quilin. To you, I should be Chang'e. No, I don't like Chang'e in Journey to the West. To you, I should be Sister Egg. That is Zubeiji's original wife. Zubeiji treats himself my first wife is not a good one. She only thinks about her first love, Chang'e, and Gao Quilin in Jiajiazhuang, who treats him like a pig and wants to kill him. You have to be nice to me, don't be like Zubeiji to the second sister Egg. Lu Chang'an said worriedly. Who is second sister Egg? And Nuan asked curiously, having no impression at all. Second sister Egg is only mentioned once in Zubeiji's mouth in the whole text of Journey to the West. Zubeiji found the first wife after turning into a pig, and got married. In the heart of the four saints, Zubeiji wanted the three sisters of the Jiao family. He also said that anyone who doesn't have 3 wives and 4 concubines will have a few more, and your son-in-law will also accept it. Lu Chang'an sighed softly. Zubeiji was really ugly at that time. Second sister Egg and him were true love, but Zubeiji was basically ruthless to her. Righteous. Why do I feel that? You are Zubeiji. With so many abilities and so many goblins around you, do you also want to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? And Nuan suddenly realized with vigilance. It's not important. Lu Chang'an said with a smile. And Nuan hummed again, not wanting to talk to Lu Chang'an about Zubeiji's problem. Really, it was supposed to be a romantic time, but he wanted to talk about Journey to the West to her. And Nuan took her phone and looked at it. Professor Lu sent it. A lot of information came to me, saying that her chain was ready. After saying that, and Nuan looked at Lu Chang'an with a frown. I'll take care of her. Lu Chang'an had laid the groundwork before. Professor Lu must have realized now why he came to her house to show his courtesy the day before departure. With such mental preparation, he knew that he was a capable person. Man, then she would be less manic. Great. And Nuan buried her head in Lu Chang'an's arms again and acted coquettishly. She stopped humming. It felt good to leave things to him and not have to take care of them herself. It felt so natural to take it for granted. Tomorrow we will go around the West Lake and go to Lifeng Pagoda to commemorate Suja's Hu. Lu Chang'an said. Can I walk tomorrow? And Nuan said worriedly. It's not such an exaggeration, ordinary people don't have this problem. Not to mention your body is very different. Lu Chang'an laughed. As soon as he saw her eyes rolling around, Lu Chang'an knew that she must be thinking. Do whatever you want. No. I don't. I am, and Nuan beat his chest dissatisfied. It is said in novels that girls will be as delicate as Lu Fufeng at this time. Okay, Lu Chang'an gave her the favor she wanted. By the way, who is Suja's Hu? And Nuan had time to think of irrelevant names. He had been to Linen and learned history well. He also learned humanistic stories and traditional myths. After thinking about it, there seemed to be no one named Suja's Hu. What's more, it was Lu Chang'an who brought up the name. Just like when he mentioned Master Hong Ai yesterday, he only mentioned it when passing by the cultural landscape related to Master Hong Ai. If you go to commemorate him in particular, you will feel that he is an extraordinary person. Suja's Hu, an immortal with superb swordsmanship. Lu Chang'an recalled. Then here in Linen, There are many immortals you want to commemorate. Old monk Fahe is also very skilled in magic. There are also Bai Suhen and Xiaoqing. Didn't Su Xian also ascend to heaven later? And Nuan couldn't help laughing. When I got up, my boyfriend was always so confusing. I thought he was going to reminisce about the past and talk about the present, but in the end, he got involved in the matter of gods and monsters. Sujus, who is Su Xian? Ah! If he is not an immortal, why is he called Su Xian? Although the title Su Xian was not more widely accepted until the Qing dynasty, he had some other titles before Lu Chang'an thought for a while and confirmed, yes, in the story of the righteous demon, he started to be called Su Xian. Okay, since the story between Whitesnake and Su Xian is barely about love, I will allow you to continue telling the story. And Nuan lay on his chest and looked at her. The romantic elements contained in such a topic are better than those in Journey to the West. Be strong. When An Nuan was a child, the most annoying thing about watching Journey to the West was that some fairies were beautiful and gentle, but they were beaten to death by Monkey King and Zhu Beiji even though they had done nothing bad. At that time, An Nuan vowed that she would be a female goblin in the future to avenge other female goblins, but she never thought that An Nuan would end up living a life that she hated. Now if a female goblin appeared in front of Lu Chang'an, An Nuan would we must let them know how cruel the demon is when he becomes a demon collector. The origin of Sujus, whose name is not from Sujus Hu, but from a woman's words, I promise you Jus Hu. This is the origin of the name Sujus Hu, and then Sujus Hu founded a sect, Jus Hu Wind and Thunder Sword section. This is probably one of the main reasons why Sujus Hu went to sea many times and finally returned. The new book Escape for Your Life, author is currently being updated, and some Chinese characters have been updated. I recommend I Walk in the World of the Heavens. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 648. And Nuan found that her judgment was correct. The love component in this story was indeed much stronger than that in Journey to the West. Moreover, except for the female goblin, the other protagonists in Journey to the West were not very good looking, even if there was a love story. There isn't much sense of immersion either. And Nuan naturally didn't like the good-looking female fairies who were beaten to death again. It feels a bit like ancient romance novels with strong heroines. Wow, I promise you Jus Hu, you are such a courageous woman. You love beauty more than anything else. And Nuan imagined herself saying to Lu Chang'an with excitement. The feeling when saying this. Lu Chang'an was not excited. Just like people in the past who revisited the old place, caressing their old desks, looking at the mottled blackboard, and asking about their old head teacher who used various teaching tools to teach him, he naturally had a different feeling. But for them to experience the feeling of sitting here in class again, I'm afraid they won't have any expectations. Of course, it's hard to see mottled blackboards now. Maybe I haven't visited my alma mater in a few years and the address has moved. When we talk about the stories of those years, they are just stories. It's not that people are indifferent, it's just that the heat will gradually dissipate. Along the way, countless scenery and new ones will always replace the past. I promise you Kyushu. And Nuan suddenly sat up straight, raised his chin high, and then said to Lu Chang'an with a stern look in his eyes, trying to look majestic. Lu Chang'an laughed and watched the quilt slip from her body. Ah! And Nuan looked down, then let out a coy voice and got back into bed shyly. You must not stop being reserved and shy just because you have sex. You must not be like some girls who have sex with their boyfriends and can even run around naked in the room. And Nuan must continue to maintain a shy and pure feeling, otherwise he will definitely get bored soon. Sujus who later came to Linan. There was a man named Gao Lian who was from the Ming dynasty. He wrote a book called Records of Enjoyment of the Four Seasons. In fact, during Sujus Hu's time, Linan was very interesting, with spring flowers and autumn moons, boundless style. That was also the beginning of Yu Deifu's belief that the Linan people have been fundamentally trained. He said that the Linan people are the most pretentious and pretentious. In today's better words, they pursue a sense of ritual. Lu Chang'an laughed. Yu Deifu's wife is from Linen. And Nuan looked at Lu Chang'an warily. You are from Juncha, and I am also from Juncha, so you don't have to worry about me saying bad things about Juncha. Lu Chang'an understood what she meant. Yu Deifu must be somewhat dissatisfied with his wife, of course, and Nuan was wary of this. Was Lu Chang'an telling this story to prepare her mentally? When they are an old married couple, will he no longer regard her as a perfect girl and start picking on her faults? Just like Yu Deifu and his wife paid attention to rituals when she was young, and Yu Deifu thought life was exquisite. But when he became an old couple, did he think his wife's rituals were a problem? Now Nuan is jealous and Lu Chang'an thinks she is cute. If she becomes jealous in the future, will he find her annoying? If you continue to think wildly, I will tell you the story of Journey to the West. Lu Chang'an threatened. Hey, no, Nuan hugged Lu Chang'an's arm. No. I'm good. Lu Chang'an kissed her forehead. Some parts of Nuan were very similar to Sumei. For example, she was jealous and had many petty thoughts. However, it would be too one-sided to think that Nuan was just an ordinary Sumei. With this kind of it is biased to look at people, and it is normal for people to have similarities. The key is the bottom line and the choice when faced with real rights and wrongs. There are some things that Sumei will do but Nuan won't. Sometimes Nuan will compromise but Sumei won't. Another very endearing thing about Nuan is that she is so coaxable. Girls who are easily coaxed to be happy are actually particularly heart-wrenching. Many times a man thinks that if he does something to make her unhappy, she would just make her happy, and the guilt in his heart becomes even stronger and he feels more sorry for her. This man has absolutely no conscience, which is another story. When discussing things in general, what we pay attention to is general situations, ordinary people, ordinary things, common phenomena, and common choices. Using an example to refute the conclusions drawn by others based on the general situation is probably because of a bad mind. Lu Chang'an is that kind of ordinary person. And Nuan is easy to coax, so he especially doesn't want to coax her when it is necessary. However, there are some things that he must tell her step by step and let her accept it slowly. I just mentioned the era when Suzhou lived. Linen is what Wu Zimura called, linen customs, luxury in all seasons, and almost no empty days for viewing. In spring, you can enjoy the quietness, see plum blossoms under the moonlight on the solitary mountain, see cauliflower in the Bagua field, and tigers go to the spring to try new tea, eat bamboo shoots in Zixi Tower, see Xiaoshan Mountain in Baoka Pagoda, see peach blossoms in Siudi. As for summer, autumn, and winter, there are also such things to do in the other three seasons, so I won't list them one by one. Retell it, after all, I am telling you a story, there is too much rambling, and you want to tell me what you said. Lu Chang'an cleared his throat and said. Have you ever been a storyteller before? With a storyteller like you in the tea house, there must be no shortage of business. A woman's intuition is terrible, and Nuan said casually, you are already talking about Suzhou. The story, didn't he have that woman who promised you Kyushu? Why did he get 2 snakes later? 2 snakes, Lu Chang'an looked at his girlfriend with a pure and soft face. I mean. And Nuan quickly adjusted the beautiful girl's correct speaking posture. How did he meet the white lady Xiaoqing later? I mean this romantic and touching thing that happened story. I got 2 snakes, do you think I'm making snake soup? Hate it, I just went off track occasionally, it's not who I really am, don't catch this, and Nuan hummed, I have adjusted myself, and my words are sweet, cute, and elegant. We met naturally because Suzhou is a special person. He has an aura that can attract intelligent beings. After the Zhou Fenglai sword sect was established in Linen, he heard about the whereabouts of Lishan's mother in Qingcheng Mountain and went there during a trip to Qingcheng Mountain. Of course I didn't see old mother Lishan. Lu Chang'an said with some regret, old mother Lishan probably doesn't exist. Of course old Mother Lishan doesn't exist, and Nuan couldn't help but laugh. The ancients were really interesting. When they heard the news about a god, they would travel thousands of miles to look for traces. You have to know that at that time, Hot Pot province, but the road to Shu is difficult, even harder to go to Qingtian. What's more, with the transportation at that time, from Linan to Qingcheng Mountain, I don't know how long it would take to travel through mountains and rivers. Why are you laughing? This is the limitation of the times. What's more, the reason why Suzhou believes in the existence of Mother Lishan is because he once heard Zhong Lishan talk about Mother Lishan. Zhong Lishan and Suzhou have an excellent relationship. He believed her. Later, he heard Fan Liwa tell about Lishan's mother, and he did not doubt that she was there. Lu Chang'an explained. And Nuan was confused. What is all this? Zhong Lishan is Zhong Wen, who is Goigo's apprentice, Sun Bin, and Pang Wan's junior sister, and King Qi Xian's queen. She is from the Warring States period, and Fan Liwa is from the Tang dynasty. Suzhou is from the Song dynasty again. At present, Xiaohua's new book has not been signed yet, so you can invest as much as you want, and the rate of return will be extremely high. If you invest more, you may not spend any money reading books in the future. Escape for your life, author welcomes collection and recommendation for investment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 649. And Nuan hugged Lu Chang'an tightly to prevent her from smiling too exaggeratedly. She almost couldn't hold back the corners of her mouth and wanted to burst out into a smile. She raised her head and looked at him. Her boyfriend's serious expression seemed as if he was not talking nonsense at all. And Nuan knew that in this story Zhong Lishan and Fan Liwa talked about Lishan's mother, and Suzhou believed it. Because Zhong Lishan is Giguzi's apprentice and also a disciple of Lishan mother, the same goes for Fan Liwa. It is said that she also learned martial arts from Lishan mother. However, these two people were born in mortal bodies and were unable to learn immortal magic. Speaking of this, Suzhou, after listening to what Zhong Lishan and Fan Liwa said, went to look for Lishan mother many times, but never got any results. This time, he rushed all the way from Linan to Qingcheng Mountain to find out about the so-called miracle of Lishan mother. It was just a woman who stole a man from the next village and was almost caught on the spot. She fell off the cliff in a panic and survived. She just made up a lie about the miracles performed by the Lishan mother. Lu Chang'an sighed softly. He took a breath and said, most of the deeds of gods in ancient times came from this. Is Suzhou a fool? It must be because he is a fool and likes to listen to fairy tales, so Zhong Lishan and Fan Liwa teased him, but in the end he took it seriously. He was deceived from the Warring States period to the Song dynasty and did not react. Come here, and Nuan still couldn't help but laugh out loud. She was such a fool. Lu Chang'an turned to look at Nuan with a calm expression. She had ridiculed Hai Hunho on the high-speed train, and now she was ridiculing the master of Zhou Fenglai sword clan. Should he still tell her? Go on. And Nuan saw her boyfriend's expression, the same one on the high-speed train that said, if you beep again, I'm going to kill you on the spot. She quickly lowered her head and bit his arm and stopped talking. In fact, Nuan is no longer afraid of him. Anyway, she has been executed on the spot. What else can he do to her? At most, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, and Nuan quickly stopped. She was no longer the kind of dirty girl who knew nothing and only knew how to make dirty jokes. After Suzhou arrived at Qingcheng Mountain, since he had nothing to gain, he was not in a hurry to return to Linan and started wandering around Qingcheng Mountain. Qingcheng Mountain is a blessed land after all. Suzhou looked for some traces left by his old friends. After playing for a long time, he lived in a Taoist temple built by Zhang Daoling's disciples. Lu Chang'an couldn't help but talk about Zhang Daoling and Du Guangting, and continued, one day he saw a little Taoist boy grabbing two snakes, one green and one white, and preparing them. When making snake soup, Sujezhu remembered that these two snakes were the ones that lingered around him every day when he was reciting scriptures after he settled down, so he gave the little Taoist boy a few pennies and saved the two snakes. Keep it close by. Is this the story of Su Xian saving the white snake? Bai Niangzi and Xiaoqing almost turned into snake soup. Fortunately, Bai Niangzi and Xiaoqing met this idiot Sujezhu. If they had met you, they would probably have spent a few pennies from the Taoist boy. I bought it and made it into a more delicious snake soup, and invited the little Taoist boy to feast on it together, and Nuan said happily for Xiaobai and Xiaoqing. Lu Chang'an was not calm anymore. How dare the little white rabbit dare to tease him so brazenly? The winter night came early, and Nuan refused to get up because she felt that she should be shy and timid and exhausted now more than Lin Daiyu. After ordering food and asking for it to be delivered to the guest room, Lu Chang'an got up and opened a few windows to let some air out. The temperature difference between the inside and outside was relatively large, and the ventilation was quick. Do you want to freeze me to death? And Nuan hid in the bed with only her head exposed. Seeing that she was so annoying and still looked cute, Lu Chang'an walked over and kissed her, and then said, "Don't you go take a bath? The food should be delivered after you take a bath. I want you to help me." "Oh, okay." And Nuan followed her coquettish habit and was about to ask him to help her take a bath, but in the end she was embarrassed. Even if they had a relationship, it was the first day after all. So relaxed. It's not like she's just pretending. And Nuan hid under the quilt and put on her pajamas and pajamas. This time, she didn't have her tattooed chest on either. And Nuan walked into the bathroom, pressed the bathroom door and called Lu Chang'an. "What are you doing?" Lu Chang'an was cleaning the bed and floor and turned around and asked. "You come to the door and accompany me." Although she was embarrassed to ask him to help her take a bath, she could at least let him accompany her at the door. "Why is it so sticky?" Lu Chang'an said unbearably. "I'm so clingy now. Girls are like this. Why, you don't take me seriously just after you get it," and Nuan threatened with two little tiger teeth. All right. That's pretty much it." And Nuan went to the bathroom to take a shower, and Lu Chang'an continued to tell her the story of Sujezhu and Xiaobai Xiaoqing outside the door. After Sujezhu rescued Xiaobai and Xiaoqing, he continued to stay in Qingchen Mountain for a while, and took the two snakes with him returned to Linan. Naturally, the two snakes did not turn into two beautiful women. They were still just two spiritual snakes. Sujezhu had already established the Zhezhu Fenglai sword sect at this time, so he gave the two snakes to the care of two popular female disciples in the sect. Zhezhu Fenglai Jianmen's secret wealth was as rich as any other country. Sujezhu opened a pharmacy in Linan and treated people for free. He also provided relief when famine or plague spread, and two people who often helped him at that time were female disciple. When people in Linan saw one raising white snakes, they called her White Snake, while the other raising green snakes naturally called her Green Snake. Although Nuan mocked Sujezhu, he also felt that such a story was more real, and the legend should be based on such a story. But whether it is the legend of the white snake or what Lu Chang'an said, they are all stories. And Nuan recalled the books he read in high school, such as Zi Baiyu by Yuan Mei. Lu Chang'an was really interested in these interesting stories about gods and monsters. And Nuan wouldn't laugh at him. Boys actually have an innocent side. For example, they are crazy about games, they like toys no matter how old they are, and they like some science fiction things. You can't ask them to be mature in every aspect. He has completely lost his innocence and the only remaining privacy in his heart. And Nuan really wouldn't like a man who was completely devoid of innocence. He always felt that such a man would be so rational that he was completely impersonal and devoid of warmth. Dinner was delivered to the room. After Nuan took a shower, she came out to dine with Lu Chang'an, but she insisted on sitting on the bed and letting Lu Chang'an feed her, because she had to be very squeamish all day today, and she would not be like this tomorrow. Lu Chang'an had no objection and turned on the TV while feeding En Nuan. En Nuan was holding the remote control, feeling bored, and switched to a TV station that was broadcasting news. She still planned to change the channel, but Lu Chang'an held down her hand. En Nuan glanced at the TV and was surprised. Lai Feng Pagoda has fallen. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 650. Lai Feng Pagoda was first built in 977 AD. The person who built the tower was Qin Chu, who received the soil and returned to the Song dynasty. Qian Chu's original name was Qian Hung Chu. In order to avoid the name taboo of Song Taizhi's father, Zhao Hongyan, he changed his name to Qian Chu. Qian Chu was the last king of Wu in the Wu kingdom during the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms period. When the later Han dynasty was strong, he was the younger brother, and when the later Zhou dynasty was stronger, he was also the younger brother. Zhao Kuangyan was born, so Qian Chu was naturally still the younger brother. The queen of the southern Tang dynasty once asked Qian Chu for help, saying that his lips were dying and his teeth were cold. Qian Chu thought about it and said, "That can't be done. I am Zhao Kuangyan's younger brother, so I did not hesitate to destroy the southern Tang dynasty together with Zhao Kuangyan." Qian Chu later went to see Zhao Kuangyan, and when he came back he brought a baggage given by Zhao Kuangyan, which contained a letter to Zhao Kuangyan to leave Qian Chu in Kyoto. A smart man like Qian Chu naturally understood what Zhao Kuangyan meant. You look, so many people want to mess with you, but I still let you go. Qian Chu understands the deeper meaning. With so many people trying to trick him, if Zhao Kuangyan can let Qian Chu go this time, there is no guarantee that when his ears soften and his stance changes, your Qian Chu will be finished. So Qian Chu received the land and returned to the Song dynasty. When he returned, Qian Chu's surrender was not criticized by others. It was different from the surrender of the capitulation faction at other times. It was a good thing for ordinary people, and it was also a good thing for Qian Chu's relatives. If Qian Chu didn't surrender, Wu Yu's Qian family might be gone. Do you know how big the impact would be if Wu Yu's Qian family was gone? Qian Suisun and Qian Sanqiang always know, right? Descendants of Qian Chu. Some people may say that if there is no guardian of the country with the surname Qian, there will always be Lu Suisun and Lu Sanqiang. I'm afraid you are thinking too well. There are only non-violent and old immortals among the billions of people in Asen. Who would have thought that Qian Chu's return to the Song dynasty would affect the fate of the country in the new era 1,000 years later? It's too far. Lai Feng Pagoda was built by Qian Chu the year before he returned to the Song dynasty. He originally built it for his wife. The court of the northern Song dynasty pursued Qian Chu's wife Sun as the imperial concubine. This is a story. This is an extremely high treatment. This is what the ancients wanted. After the tower was repaired, it was called Huangfei Tower. However, it was later renamed Lai Feng Tower by word of mouth among the people who had unlimited communication capabilities. Lai Feng Pagoda was burned down by the damned Japanese pirates in the Ming dynasty, leaving only the brick frame. Later, boring people thought that bricks could ward off evil spirits for various reasons, and finally it was dumped. On the fall of Lai Feng Pagoda is a text that everyone knows needs to be memorized. After the Lai Feng Pagoda collapsed, the current Lai Feng Pagoda was newly built more than 10 years ago. Although it may not have the vicissitudes of time and the original antiquities, it is still an architectural masterpiece. The most important thing is that the current Lai Feng Pagoda is so strong that even earthquakes, typhoons, and wars may not be able to destroy it. Digging bricks is even more of a dream. In the newly built Lai Feng Pagoda, there are still people trying to dig bricks, but they were caught and educated and let go. There are always stupid people, so they can't be killed, and there is no other way. and Nuan and Lu Chang'an couldn't believe it when they saw this news. The two people watched the news carefully. The news did not give the specific reason for the collapse of Lifeng Pagoda, but only showed photos and videos of the scene. Someone must have taken advantage of the chaos to pick up bricks, Lu Chang'an said knowingly. Then shall we go to commemorate Suja's Hu? And Nuan felt that there was something ominous. The first thing he did after having a relationship with Lu Chang'an was to go to Lifeng Pagoda, but the tower suddenly collapsed. Go, I want to take a look now. Lu Chang'an was a little interested, because after looking at the pictures and scenes of the scene, it was obviously not a construction problem, but a collapse caused by some external force. No. We have to stay together today. If I don't go, you are not allowed to go either. And Nuan hugged Lu Chang'an's arm again, thinking sweetly that she once hugged him in the kitchen without wearing a bra. I was still very shy at that time. It's really magical. When I met Lu Chang'an for the first time, I couldn't have imagined what would happen today, right? Things in the world are unpredictable, including the collapse of Lifeng Pagoda and the evolution of young girls. Okay, let's go tomorrow. Be good, open your mouth, and eat the butter cake. No dipping sauce yet, I'm going to have hazelnut spread and a little bit of foie gras. Lu Chang'an and Nuan no longer paid attention to the collapse of Lifeng Pagoda. An hour before Lifeng Pagoda collapsed, the snow above Linan City stumbled in the air, pulling at each other, and the small snow crystals gradually formed large snowflakes. It was like God was playing with cotton, and it was plucking it down in groups, covering every scenic spot in the city. The tiles on the Lifeng Pagoda are made of brass, but they are fired with a bronze color. They are fixed with rivets. They have the feeling of green tiles, but they are not as easy to slip and fall as green tiles do over time, which affects the appearance. It may also injure tourists. A large amount of brass is used in the tower body. Modern construction engineering and high attention from all walks of life make this new tower with the mission of recreating the beautiful scenery of Lifeng sunset extremely strong. From November to March of the following year, tourists are prohibited from entering the Lifeng Pagoda scenic area at 5:30. At this time, a woman holding an oil paper umbrella and carrying a huge toolbox appeared in front of Lifeng Pagoda. The Lifeng Pagoda in the night lights up the scenic spots one after another. The thick snow falls on the copper tiles, contrasting with the color of the snow, making the whole tower as glorious and sacred as a pagoda from the sky falling into the earth. The collapse of Lifeng Pagoda more than 90 years ago must have been something you felt, right? At that time, many people criticized and blamed the collapse of Lifeng Pagoda on the fools who came here to dig bricks. They certainly contributed to the tower's collapse. But the main reason is that you woke up and turned over. Did you feel something? Why didn't you really wake up that time? Did you fall asleep again? It's really exciting. I am Avrona Volibear, the king of the north who lords over the north pole of the earth. I come to say hello to you. After the woman finished speaking, she stood quietly in front of Lifeng Pagoda. Snow fell all over her oil paper umbrella, and her expression was very calm. Perhaps only by staring closely into her eyes could one see a touch of fanatical expectation in the deepest part. 10 minutes later, the woman who called herself Avrona Volibear took steps and walked up the stairs to the base of the tower. The closed but strong door could not stop Avrona's steps. She pushed lightly and the door was forced open. She did not climb the tower, but continued to open the ancient doors one after another and came to the bottom of the tower. Here is an exhibition hall, with the picture story of Su Xian and White Snake, the original foundation, and the excavated underground palace. Avrona's eyes scanned the exhibition albums and stories on the wall with interest, and then landed on the foundation and underground palace of the original site. In the center of the original foundation is a hexagonal groove, and in the center is a square underground palace with a length and width of 50 centimeters and a depth of only 1 meter. The foundation of the original site was surrounded by glass. Avrona put down the oil paper umbrella in her hand, held her super huge toolbox in one hand, and pressed it on the solid glass with the other. Her palm changed from being pressed against the glass to being supported by 5 fingers in an arch shape, until fine lines appeared under her fingertips. Then as her body leaned forward slightly, the solid glass finally could not resist this prehistoric feeling. The reckless power that the giant beast burst out was instantly shattered. There was no siren, and the surrounding surveillance cameras seemed to have lost their souls and focus, without any deterrent or warning effect. Avrona carried her toolbox and walked to the side of the original Lifeng Tower, staring at the small underground palace. There is a deeper and larger underground palace under the underground palace. After the first level of the underground palace was discovered, more careful archaeological research was conducted and the bottom underground palace was discovered. It was only inferred that it was a certain generation of King Wu or an important figure in the royal family. The tomb chamber, and the archaeological expert team is not completely sure that the tomb chamber and the tomb objects in it will not be damaged after opening the second floor of the underground palace. Some people even speculate that the underground palace is connected to a waterway. Once the excavation operation is wrong, water from the West Lake may flow in and destroy the tomb. The entire underground palace. As a result, the underground palace was protected and not excavated, and the relevant information was sealed. Afrola only saw these sealed information by coincidence. Aurora believed that the underground palace was not a tomb, but that sleeping there was a snake. A white snake. Avrona looked at the shallow first-level underground palace. In this underground palace, she had discovered the secrets of all Tathagata's hearts, whole-body relics and sealed Arni Sutra, gilt bronze Buddha statues and other treasures. Of course there are none of these things here now. Aurora opened her toolbox, which contained a container filled with red liquid. Looking at the capacity, it feels like it can fill the entire underground palace. Avrona was indeed prepared to do this. She opened the container and poured all the bright red liquid into the underground palace. The bloody smell came, and it was all fresh blood. Avrona watched as the blood gradually became still in the underground palace, with only a few bubbles floating on the surface of the blood. She stretched out her finger, and there was a bleeding hole on it, and her blood dripped drop by drop into the underground palace that was already filled with blood. She pressed her heart, and the dripping speed of blood gradually increased. The blood mixed with Avrona's ingredients was gradually absorbed by the soil around the underground palace, and the level of the blood decreased layer by layer. When all the blood disappeared, Aurora pinched her fingertips, and the blood hole disappeared in an instant, and her face became a little pale. Even she was having a hard time losing so much blood at once. She didn't care, and gently fiddled with her bangs and hair behind her ears. This action made her feel full of femininity, and she liked it very much. The blood in the underground palace completely disappeared, and even the remaining blood in the soil no longer existed, as if Aurora had never poured 250 L of blood here. Avrona looked at the underground palace silently. The next moment, blood energy surged into the sky and Lifeng Pagoda moved. If you don't understand this chapter, you can wait for this chapter. There will always be a powerful person who will explain who Avrona is. Double monthly tickets have started. Please give me monthly tickets. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 652. Due to the solid building structure and materials, when the entire Lifeng Tower trembled, there were no bricks falling or walls breaking. Avrona felt like she was just standing on a cruise ship in the West Lake, with water waves lapping at the cruise ship and shaking it. The blood in the air became thicker and thicker, as if the blood that filled the underground palace just now evaporated into mist, making the entire underground exhibition hall smell of blood. This smell makes Avrona very comfortable. Blood contains the richest vitality in animals. The more powerful the life is, the more instinctive desire it has for blood. Healthy human blood is the best nutritional raw material on Earth. No other living thing has a more valuable body fluid than human blood. Avrona was originally an exception, but now she has become a real human being, which means that human beings are still the evolutionary goal of Earth creatures, and she has only achieved this goal more perfectly. This is the will of life of the natural evolution of the Earth. Avrona evaluated herself objectively. Since she is the Earth's naturally evolved will of life, Avrona naturally has a strong sense of mission. She wants to find other naturally evolved wills of life and combine them to form a more powerful will to dominate other ordinary people. Life, guiding them to develop in a more correct evolutionary direction. There were people who did this before, right? Otherwise, how could there be so many legends involving supernatural beings? For example, immortality, rejuvenation, overwhelming power, 1 against 100, etc. Avrona herself has created many legends, and her power is reflected behind many of the stories. Therefore, when she studies legends and stories from around the world, she is able to be very keenly aware of which ones are just mortal desires and fantasies. Which ones are the true will of life of the natural evolution of the Earth, showing the direction of evolution and guiding life to evolve. Avrona was about to recall the many theories about evolution told to her by her teacher Darwin, when a sudden crack spread under her feet, causing her to subconsciously twist her waist to avoid it. Ah, Avrona couldn't help but sigh in surprise, how charming and elegant her waist-twisting action was. If we say that we are the will of life of the natural evolution of life on Earth, then women are the perfect shape of the will of life, right? Alas, men are so disgusting. The cracks under his feet tore through the entire ground. Looking down from the cracks, he could see a trembling darkness, and there was a vague shape of something huge moving in it. Cracks of varying sizes appeared around the original foundation ruins and underground palace, and soon the entire ground sank into the darkness below. Avrona stepped back step by step, looking at the darkness with bright eyes. A gray appeared in the darkness. The gray gradually rose and turned into a shimmering white. Those shimmers come from the scales. The first scale became clear and crystal clear, like a jade carving. More and more scales formed a swimming figure. When Avrona saw a pair of sapphire blue eyes embedded in the middle of the scales, the swimming figure soared into the sky in an instant. "Who?" Avrona exclaimed, "this must be the miracle of life." Even she has rarely seen such a huge and flexible life bursting with vitality, and the water monsters and beasts that remain in the primitive zone. It's different. The things that Avrona has seen, because they haven't evolved for too long, have long lost the vitality that contains the power of evolution. They are lifeless, as if they will disappear from this world at any time. The creature in front of us is at its most vigorous period of vitality. It can still transform and evolve. Avrona couldn't help but think of the scene when she escaped from the beast state. You're going to evolve, Avrona's heart was beating like a drum. After searching for so many years, she finally saw the transformation of life at the level of will to realize the natural evolution of life on Earth, an opportunity similar to her own transformation from a beast into a human created before her eyes. Of miracles. She is the force that creates such miracles. The creature covered with white scales stared at Avrona indifferently with its sapphire blue eyes. It instantly twisted its body and ignored Avrona. It soared into the sky and knocked down the Lifeng Tower. "Hey, Orakai!" Avrona was stunned for a moment, then picked up her skirt and chased after her. She didn't expect that this dragon-like snake would completely ignore her. After colliding and knocking down the Lifeng Pagoda, it fell to the ground, and then it was like a bolt shooting from the top of the mountain. The silver-white waterfall rushes into the West Lake where the snow has melted. Avrona cursed, rushed out from the bottom of the collapsed Lifeng Tower, and followed the big snake into the West Lake. After Lu Chang'an and An Nuan finished dinner, they left the hotel and walked to Sudit. She was the one who said she was a delicate flower in need of pity. She was the one who was weak and motionless in the room, and then it was she who said she wanted to go out for a walk. An Nuan hugged Lu Chang'an's arm tightly, and she was a little worried. She wondered if he would take it as a reward if she shook his arm again and again in the future. After all, they have already done whatever they want to her. It's really pitiful. I used to think that I would always be a girl. I wonder if I am considered a young woman now? The word young woman made Nuan blush a little. She should not be considered a young woman until she is Professor Liu's age. Before that, she was a girl. But in Lu Chang'an's heart, she should always remain a girl. Say it quickly, I will always be a girl, and Nuan hugged Lu Chang'an's arm and jumped up and down loudly to show that her request was very strong. Lu Chang'an was talking about the spring morning at Su Causeway, with 6 bridges of smoke, willow cages and gauze, and a few orioles singing. He was reporting on the scenery of Su Causeway in the spring morning. Who knew that while she was nodding and listening to his explanation, she was thinking about something else in her mind. What's gone? Okay, you will always be a girl. Lu Chang'an nodded in agreement. Whether it is a girl or a young woman, the key is to look at the temperament and the companion. With a boy like him who will always be 18 years old, then his girlfriend naturally, she will always be a girl. That's pretty much it, go on. By the way, it seems that if we walk along the Su Causeway to the opposite side, we will reach the Lifeng Pagoda. And Nuan pointed to the dark night above the water bank in front and said. She had seen that place during the day. The location is Lifeng Pagoda. Lifeng Pagoda collapsed just now, so naturally there is no night view of the pagoda at night. So on such a snowy night, there are hurried pedestrians on Sudi walking towards Lifeng Pagoda. You must know that for people all over the country, the collapse of Lifeng Pagoda is a very shocking thing. After the shock, it's just a chat, but for the people of Linen it's different. This tower has extraordinary meaning and is where everyone's hometown feelings lie. Let's not join in the fun, I actually have something to tell you. Lu Chang'an thought for a while and said. Say it. And Nuan looked cute. I actually have superpowers. Lu Chang'an planned to proceed step by step. Rather than starting from the birth of life on Earth and talking about his boyfriend, it is obviously more appropriate to start with a setting with a higher acceptance of superpowers. I recommend the best special photography era. Xiahua is also reading it, it's a good book. Hello everyone, tomorrow is the National Day, and today is also the most expensive day in September. Generally, in order to cheat votes on this day, authors will update the word count a little. As for whether they can cheat, I don't know.